Before we meet the panelists, please help me to recognize some of the people who made this event possible. Brian Kelly, Director of the Palm Beach State College Library here on the Lake Worth campus. Brian, are you here? There he is. Brian, thank you. And Joan Park and Elaine Goodman, League of Women Voters. They're here to come. And Jay Pellets from People Now, one of our sponsors. Thank you, Jay. And we want to thank all of you in the audience for joining us today. We can't have a town hall meeting without citizens, so we're grateful for your participation. Thank you for making this event possible. As I said, my name is Pablo, and I'm with People Now, one of the sponsors of the event. And we also would like to recognize the president of Palm Beach State College who's here, Dr. Gallen. All right, we're going to meet our panelists briefly, starting with Congressman Ted Deutch, who is serving his third term. Congressman Ted Deutch is serving his third term in the U.S. House of Representatives on behalf of Florida's 21st District, which includes communities throughout Palm Beach and Broward counties. An assistant whip to Minority Whip Steny Hoyer, he has been highlighted by the Washington newspaper roll call as a young, rising voice in the House Democratic Caucus. Ted is a member of the House Judiciary Committee, the House Ethics Committee, and the House Foreign Affairs Committee, in which he serves as the ranking member on the Middle East and North Africa Subcommittee. Thank you, Congressman Deutch. Next, we have Mayor Stephen Abrams, Mayor of Palm Beach County. He has served on the Board of County Commissioners since 2009. He is also the chairman of the South Florida Regional Transportation Authority. Mayor Abrams previously held office as mayor of Boca Raton and city council member beginning in 1989. Prior to moving to Florida, he served in the White House as law clerk to the council's President Reagan, who is current Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. Mayor Abrams graduated from Harvard and George Washington University Law School. Thank you, Mayor Abrams. Next, we have Vice Mayor Todd Wodraska, who was elected to the Jupiter Town Council in March 2004 and recently won re-election without opposition. He serves as the president of the Palm Beach County League of Cities, and he is a member of this year's class of Leadership Florida. In his professional life, Mr. Wodraska is the president of Special District Services, a local small business that creates and manages public-private partnerships in the form of special districts. Thank you, Vice Mayor Wodraska. And our fourth panelist is Dr. Jennifer O'Flannery Anderson. She's the Vice President for Community Engagement and the Executive Director of the Florida Atlantic University Foundation. An alumna of FAU, her goal is to make Florida Atlantic a thoroughly engaged university by strengthening the university's bonds with donors, alumni, businesses, and civic organizations. Dr. O'Flannery Anderson has been involved in numerous community initiatives, including serving the board of United Way of Florida, Workforce One, Greater Fort Lauderdale Alliance, and Donors Forum of South Florida. Thank you, Dr. O'Flannery Anderson. And our fifth panelist is Randy Schultz, who has spent nearly 40 years as a journalist in South Florida. From 1974 to 1976, he worked as a sports writer for the Miami Herald. He joined the Post in 1976 and has held a variety of positions. From 1985 to 1989, he served as managing editor. Since 1990, he has been editor of the editorial page. He has received awards for editorial writing and column writing from Sigma Delta Chi, the Florida Society of Newspaper Editors, and Cox Newspapers. Thank you, Randy. And our final panelist is Kim Ardila-Morgan, a native Texan. Ms. Ardila-Morgan currently serves as the director of the newly created Center for Applied Ethics at Palm Beach State College. Previously, she was the director of the Florida Institute of Government program for over 20 years, providing professional development, training, and technical assistance to local and state government in Palm Beach County. The Center for Applied Ethics was established with legislative support in response to community interest in building a culture of ethics in Palm Beach County, beyond the basic requirements of the Commission on Ethics. Kim is the winner of the Outstanding Community Service Award given by Leadership Palm Beach County. Thank you, Kim. Okay, we're ready to start this panel discussion. Just a couple of programming notes. We've asked the panelists to limit their responses to 2 minutes. And the imperial presidency is the idea that the office of U.S. President is out of control and routinely exceeds its constitutional limits. Our signing statements, executive orders, and the drone program evidence that the imperial presidency is a reality. Does the modern-day presidency threaten to destroy the balance of power among the 3 branches of government? Congressman Deutch?
First of all, if I may, I just want to take a moment to thank you. All right. Thank you for inviting me to join you. Thanks to the organizers for putting this together. I think this is an appropriate way to spend President's Day. I appreciate that. And finally, to Dr. Gallen and all the good folks here at Palm Beach State College, another wonderful event, another way that the college is so actively involved in civic engagement. So my thanks to you and everyone here. I think that there's not, the answer to your question is no, it's not quite that simple. I serve in the United States House of Representatives. It is Congress's responsibility to ensure oversight over the executive branch. That's what the Constitution contemplates. There are examples, I understand, some of which are in the question, where the power of the executive branch seems to have grown. I understand there are legitimate concerns about this. There were certainly legitimate concerns about the last administration. There are legitimate concerns about this administration, particularly those that you've talked about. There are concerns about efforts to fight to deal with cybersecurity issues that may worry civil liberties advocates. There are concerns about the drone program. Guantanamo Bay is still open. I understand that. If Congress does its job, however, then that oversight is the way to check that power. That's the responsibility that we have. There are plenty of examples where the administration has tried to use its power unsuccessfully. Unfortunately, those examples are where Congress has blocked the administration. I think are examples that take us the other direction. The president laid out now more than a year ago. I wonder how time is being kept. Let me just, right here. Okay. So I'll wrap up, and I'll know for next time there's a timekeeper down here. I was excited that I was given 2 minutes, but there was no one keeping time, so who would know? I would just add, before I wrap up, the president, to one example, the American Jobs Act that the president had introduced before a joint session of Congress couldn't be done by executive order. And yet the president went out and worked hard to move forward an agenda that would create jobs that would have propelled the economy forward. Congress there had a responsibility, I think, to work with the president and failed to. It is always a back and forth. It's Congress's responsibility to hold the executive branch in check.
All right, thank you, Congressman Deutch. Mayor Abrams.
Thanks, Pablo, and welcome to everyone. And glad you're here. And I'm sure you're missing all the mattress sales out there on President's Day. So I'm glad you're here. I think the answer to the question is, if your president is in your own party, that's leadership. If the president is in the other party, that's imperialism. You gave the example of the drones, and one pundit remarked if George W. Bush had initiated the drone program, he'd be impeached by the Democrats by now. But we only have to look at the headlines each day where you see, Obama will act on immigration reform if Congress fails to. Obama will act on climate change if Congress fails to. The list goes on. I'm going to drone on about it, but clearly our government is deliberately divided government, and so you may have inaction on the part of Congress on some issues, but that's how it is designed. It goes back and forth over the years. If any of you saw the Lincoln movie, I'm sure most of you have, and heard him say that he is clothed in immense power, which my friend Randy Schultz, it was not me saying that about the county mayor, but Abraham Lincoln. And look, the bottom line is we're a huge country, and we're too big to have effective centralized government by any one chief executive.
All right, Kim?
Thank you very much. Well, I'm certainly not at the level of my two colleagues that just spoke. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better? Yes. Okay. But I'm certainly not at the experience level in government as my two previous colleagues, but I would just say our focus at the Center for Applied Ethics is more on local government, but I think you can see a lot of similarities in what may be happening at the various other levels of government in terms of these kinds of things where actually technology and science and globalism has really changed the whole landscape and environment of the way we operate as a society and consequentially as a government. Laws and ethics are changing, and they have not kept pace with, the laws and rules of ethics and etiquette have not kept up with the changes and advances in technology. So we're sort of feeling our way forward on that. But I do believe we have a strong government with checks and balances. As Representative Deutch said, we have situations where one branch may try to go forward and the other one is able to restrain it or modify it. So I think that we still have a strong government, but what I think is really most in need of reform is the civic engagement of our citizens. And really now with the advent of technology, there are so many ways that we can let our legislators know how we feel and interact and participate so that things are not just happening in isolation at the elected official level.
Great, thanks. Any other panelists want to weigh in on that before we move to the next question? All right, question number 2. On Wednesday, January 30th, last month, the Palm Beach Post published the following headline on the front page of its print edition. Quote, Obama on immigration. I'll act if Congress doesn't. End quote. Is the president able to change immigration law by himself? Was the Palm Beach Post framing this story in the best possible way? Vice Mayor Wodraska?
Wow, they sent us some questions beforehand. I thought this was the immigration question. I didn't realize it was the how did the Palm Beach Post handle the immigration issue.
That's my angle.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about how I was going to answer the question, I thought that it was appropriate that I would talk about probably the one thing that I'm most proud about in my elected service in the town of Jupiter, and that's this organization that's called the El Sol Neighborhood Resource Center. And the El Sol Resource Center, Jupiter is an affluent community in the North County. We are blessed with beautiful beaches, and Michael Jordan lives in our community now, and Ernie Els, and a plethora of golfers. But we had a problem about 10, 15 years ago where we had up to 200 or sometimes even as many as 300 typically Guatemalan men standing on a street corner trying to flag down people looking for a day's work, and it kind of got the word got out, and people would go and go pick up some people for a day's worth of work. And the town of Jupiter opened up this resource center, and